Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got episode 2 of MLB All Around. It's been about a month since the start of the season and since we've done an episode of this. So I apologize for the delay. I've been pretty busy with all the March Madness stuff and the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs as well. And just, kind of had a busy schedule. So I haven't really had time to squeeze this in, but we are back. So I apologize for the delay for all of you MLB fans out there. Before we get started, make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss out whenever we upload a video. Not only do we do an MLB, we do college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you subscribe, turn on the noties, and like this video if you enjoy. As always, Discord X linked in the description. With all that being said, let's get right on in to the American League standings now. Starting off in the AL East, the Baltimore Orioles are still in first place now. They have been kind of shifting back and forth here with the Yankees as of right now. They are technically, I guess, tied for first place, but I'm going to give it to the Orioles. They do have the better, win percentage, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll give it to the Orioles there. And that's how the tiebreaker, I guess, is on ESPN. That's kind of just what I looked at for the standings. But, the Orioles been playing really great. Expected, them to be probably the best team in the American League this year. So, glad to see that they are looking solid so far. The Yankees bringing in Juan Soto's really, been a really good addition for them. The offense has been amazing, and pitching-wise, they've actually been very solid, better than I would have thought. So, good on them for that. The Red Sox, I feel like, always start out the year pretty solid, and then over time slowly kind of fall down to, fourth or fifth in this division. I think it's probably going to be the same thing this season. They really haven't done, anything super impressive. I guess they've pitched well so far, and they're doing better than the Blue Jays and Rays. So I guess there's that. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. 16 and 13, pretty solid, through 30 games, but is it going to be consistent? Probably not. Fourth, we got the Blue Jays, who have kind of been sort of lackluster to start this season. Vlad Guerrero's still been amazing. George Springer, Bo Bichette, all of them. Justin Turner's been very good so far. I mean, their whole team's playing solid, but they just haven't really found a way to win yet, at least right now. The Rays in last. Their pitching has not been great through this whole season. It is tough because usually the Rays they always find a way to win. But they've allowed a lot of runs, and they really haven't been able to score much to keep up. Now, obviously, losing Wander Franco with all the off-field stuff, that sucks for them. But Yandy Diaz, Arozarena, if they continue like this, which I think is possible this season, I could see, Arozarena getting traded at the deadline. He's a very valuable player. I'm sure a lot of teams would want him. And he's been amazing so far. It's tough. I'm not gonna, call it off that the season's over just because, they're barely under 500, 30 games in. I mean, we've seen more crazy things happen, but I am saying if it continues at the way they've been playing, it's not looking great, I guess. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Moving on over to the AL Central, and this has actually been, so far at least record-wise, the best division. Actually, I don't know. The AL East is probably better. But the AL Central has surprisingly been very competitive this year. Besides, obviously, the White Sox, we're not even going to talk about them. They got 6 wins. They just won their first back-to-back game all season, like a day or two ago. So that's, I guess, good. But you shouldn't be celebrating that at all. They're just a terrible team. Let's keep it real. But moving on to the Guardians. The Guardians right now have the 1 seed in the American League. Now I know it doesn't mean much. We're still in, about to be in May. Playoffs aren't for a couple months here, but it is interesting. Pitching wise, they've been very solid. And yeah, I mean, Jose Ramirez has been amazing as expected, and they've really put it together. So glad to see that for Cleveland. Was not expecting this good of a start. I mean, and their offense has been pretty solid too. Um, we'll see if they can keep it up. But I don't think they'll. I think it's more likely they probably fall a little in this division. The Royals and Tigers kind of in the same boat. I expected them to have better seasons than last, but I didn't predict them to win the division or anything. I think I had the Tigers second, and I had the Royals either third or fourth with the Guardians. Yeah, they've both been doing pretty solid so far, and the Twins off to a rocky start. They're now on an 8-game win streak, and they're looking like they've figured out how to play, alongside each other. They kind of been getting into their rhythm recently. I expect them to probably win this division, but we'll see. In the AL West, the Mariners are over there at the top, and I predicted the Mariners to go to the ALCS this season as a 6 seed. I just really like their pitching. They have one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. Julio Rodriguez is an amazing player. He's one of the best players in the league. Mitch Garver, J.P. Crawford, Jorge Polanco. They got a very good team, and yeah, I mean we've seen it so far. They have the least amount of runs allowed in baseball. Yeah, just pitching wise, they're a scary team. So I love to see that from the Mariners. The Rangers, the defending World Series champs, kind of struggling out the gate so far. I don't want to say struggling; they're over 500. But you want to see a little bit more than that, I guess, from the defending World Series champs. But they're still winning some games. The A's in third place, surprisingly. I mean, I don't know. They're 13 and 17. I mean, it's crazy they have 13 wins because they have a negative 39 run differential. The worst in baseball besides the Marlins, the Rockies, and the White Sox. But they're finding a way to get it done. I don't know. It's happening though. They have the second least amount of total runs scored this season, only ahead of the Chicago White Sox. I don't know. They're finding a way to get it done, so I guess good on them, but I wouldn't expect anything. I'd probably still predict them to finish last in this division. The Angels just lost Mike Trout for, it looks like, the season earlier today. That's a tough blow. They weren't going to be anything special with him, and without him, it's just a dumpster fire. And then the Astros, starting off very rough. I do expect them to pick it up, but it is interesting. They are 10 games under 500 through the first 30-ish games. It's a little interesting. We'll see how it pans out. They did start off slow, I guess, last season. Moving on to the National League. At the top of the NL East, it's a familiar face. We got the Braves still at the top there, 19-8 record. Offensively, they're one of the best teams in baseball. Pitching-wise, they're one of the best teams in baseball. But they did lose Spencer Strider, which is a pretty tough loss. We'll see how they do without him. I'm very interested. Marcell Ozuna has been absolutely electric so far. He has 9 home runs through 27 games. That's about a home run every 3 games. That's ridiculous. He's on pace for quite a bit of home runs. Let's see if I can just do the math real quick. He's on pace for 55-ish home runs. That's ridiculous. Austin Riley, Acuna has been amazing. Matt Olson, Orlando Arcia, Ozzie Albies. They just have a loaded team. But losing Strider really does hurt them. So that is tough. They still have, Max Fried, Charlie Morton. They still got a lot of guys. I do expect them to still win the division. But it is interesting a little bit. Now looking at the Phillies, they've been, very solid to start the season, but they haven't had the strongest schedule so far. They play the Angels recently, the Padres, the Reds, the White Sox, the Rockies, the Pirates, Cardinals, Nationals. I mean, that's not the best schedule in the world. That has been their schedule though to start the season, and at least they've been winning, so good on them for that. The Mets sitting at 500. It's better than could be worse. Last season they were disappointment last season, but at least they're sitting at 500. I do expect them to finish somewhere around 500. The Nationals doing pretty solid to start out the year. They're also at 500. I mean, I do expect them to finish below 500, but good on them for starting pretty solid to the season. The Marlins have been absolutely atrocious. They technically do have the worst record in the league. But the White Sox. It has been the White Sox for the majority of the season, but the Marlins lost 7 in a row, and the season's probably already over. The Cubs at the top of the NL Central, and it has been the Brewers for a long time, really, to start the season. This is really the first time I've seen the Cubs officially at the top of this division. With some, no separate or no ties or anything, which is great. Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, love to see it from them. They are my favorite team, so I did predict them to win this division. I do think they will. Steele has been hurt, a little banged up, but we've done pretty solid without him. Shota Imanaga has been amazing so far. Yeah, I mean we're figuring it out without Steele, and we're still. I mean, the fact we're still 18-11 without our ace, one of the best pitchers in the league, is pretty good. So I'm proud to see it there. The Brewers have been winning a lot of games, and there's not really any story to how they're doing it. They just been a really good team so far. The Reds. Love to see it from them. I did predict them to finish. I think I predicted them second, actually, in this division. Pitching-wise, they've been very solid, and, Ellie De La Cruz has been amazing. He always is. The Cardinals and the Pirates, both at the bottom of this division, just slightly under 500 for both these teams. The Pirates did start out pretty hot. They've cooled down since then. I did expect these two teams to finish. Actually, I think I had the Cardinals finishing fourth. Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. That's kind of their guys there offensively for the Cardinals. Pitching wise, they don't really have too many guys. They did bring in, I believe they brought in Sonny Gray. I don't know how he's done, but that is interesting. The Pirates, Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz. These two teams are probably, bottom two. I do expect them to finish there. And then rounding it out with the NL West, we got the Dodgers at the top. No surprise there. I expected them to finish at the top of this division, and they have shown out so far. Shohei Ohtani has been amazing for them. Mookie Betts has been ridiculous. It's a ridiculous team. Teoscar Hernandez has been amazing. Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy. I mean, those guys will all probably make an all-star team. And they still got guys down there like James Outman, Gavin Lux, Jason Hayward. I know he hasn't played much this season, but he's ridiculous defensively. It's a ridiculous team. Pitching wise, they brought in Yamamoto. He's been pretty solid. He hasn't been amazing, but I do believe he'll get there. Tyler Glasnow has been ridiculous. I mean, it's honestly unfair with no salary cap, but it is what it is. The rest of the division has kind of been lackluster. I haven't really seen much from the Giants and Padres. The Diamondbacks, defending World Series runner-ups, they've kind of had a hangover. I do expect them to figure it out and end up finishing. I do expect them to finish second in this division. They actually have the most runs scored out of anyone except the Dodgers. Their run differential is plus 25, and yet they're 4 games under 500. Sometimes it happens that way. They do have, they have struggled defensively this season. They have one of the lowest runs allowed, but offensively they've been electric. So Corbin Carroll and all of them have been amazing, and then the Rockies at the bottom, no surprise there. But now, if the playoffs were to start today, we're gonna do our little postseason preview, I guess. Pick all the series and tell you how many games. And again, this isn't who I would take if this was the playoffs. This is who I would take if the playoffs started today. There is a big difference there, so we're gonna have to keep in mind, how streaky a team is right now, how they've been playing recently, how they would do if the playoffs started today. So with all that being said, the 3-seeded Seattle Mariners taking on the 6-seeded Boston Red Sox. Now technically Boston was tied with Detroit, the Tigers. I just put Boston in there because I don't know. I just felt like putting Boston in there. They had a higher run differential, so I guess I went with that. I kind of just picked whoever. I'm going to go with Seattle. I don't trust Boston enough. I think Seattle's pitching is too strong here. I think they'll take this series in 2 games. New York and Kansas City. I'm going to go ahead and take the Yankees also in 2 games. I don't think the Kansas City Royals are up to that task yet. The Yankees have been one of the best teams in baseball to start the season. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, all of them. There's 4 teams with 19 wins. The Yankees are one of them. Other teams with 19 wins include the Braves, the Phillies, the Guardians. I guess one of 5 teams, and the Dodgers. The Orioles technically have 1 less win than them, but they also have 1 less loss, so that's why they're at the 2 seed. I'm going to go ahead and take the Yankees, though. I think they've been very solid to start the season. Now looking at the top of the National League, the 3-seeded Cubs taking on the 6-seeded Reds. I do think the Reds could win a game in this series, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Cubs in 3. I think they're just overall the better team. No steal will hurt, but I think they have enough to beat the Reds. Now looking at this 4-5, this is interesting, Phillies versus Brewers, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Phillies in 2. The Brewers aren't really an exciting team like the Phillies are. I think the Phillies, I just trust them more offensively and defensively, and Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, that's pretty tough there. And the Brewers kind of blew things up a little bit, at least pitching-wise, in the offseason. No more Corbin Burns, so honestly surprised they've been doing this good. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Phillies. Now we're into the divisional series. So we got the 2-seeded Orioles taking on the 3-seeded Mariners. Now this was actually my preseason prediction for the ALCS. I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my pick. I took the Orioles over the Mariners, so I'm gonna take the Orioles here. But I do think it could go all 5 games. I just think pitching-wise, the Mariners are such a scary team. And offensively, they got power hitters. So, they're a scary team to play. I'm telling you, watch out for them. They're my dark horse team this year. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Orioles. I took them to the World Series in my preseason. I'm going to stick with that right now. They haven't really showed me any signs why I should change that. So I'm going to take them. They will have the home advantage in the series. I'm going to take the Orioles in all 5 games, though. New York versus Cleveland. Cleveland has been doing very good to start the season. I don't want to knock them at all. But man, I know New York. The Yankees are without Garrett Cole, and they're still doing this good. They have, technically they don't have the best record in baseball. They're behind teams like the Guardians, who they are playing against, and the Braves. But the fact that they're doing this good without their best pitcher, That is pretty ridiculous. Anthony Rizzo has just been amazing this season. Surprisingly, he's getting up there in age, but he's still doing great things. Juan Soto, like I said, Aaron Judge, Anthony Volpe. I mean, they just have so many hitters. And pitching wise, they got Stroman. They brought him in. They got Rodon. I mean, they got guys here. I think they would win this one against Cleveland. Cleveland has been playing very good recently. And again, I don't want to knock them pitching wise. They've been amazing. But I think New York offensively can just overpower Cleveland's pitching. And, Jose Ramirez, I don't trust Cleveland's offense enough to keep up, I guess, with New York's. I'm going to take the Yankees in 4. But, this series would be very interesting. In the National League, the Cubs versus Dodgers. Unfortunately, I don't think the Cubs have enough. I would take the Dodgers probably in 4. Now, the Cubs did win the series against the Dodgers earlier in the season when they played. But, the Cubs have the best home record in the league. But with no Justin Steele, it is a little bit hard to trust them here in a 5-game series. And I'd like to see them be a little bit more consistent just so I know that I can trust them come playoff time. I just want to see some more from them. They're probably the team I've watched the most. But I got to go with the Dodgers. I just think they're too loaded offensively. I feel like the Dodgers are the better team here. I'm going to go Dodgers in 4. And then I feel like we see this matchup every single time in these videos, but the Phillies taking on the Braves. I feel like the Phillies are always the top wild card team. The Braves are always here at the 1 seed. I'm going to go ahead and take the team I usually take in the series. I'm going to take the Braves. They'll play each other a lot this season, and we'll really get to see it. I have taken the Phillies before, but as of right now, I got to go with the Braves. They've shown no signs to me of why I shouldn't switch up my preseason pick. I don't want to spoil anything, but they're one of the highest, they're one of the best offensive teams, and, pitching-wise, they're, in terms of runs scored and runs allowed, they're at the top of the league in both categories. At runs scored wise, they're top 6, 7, and same with runs allowed. So I mean, it's got to be the Braves. The Phillies have been amazing, but I'm gonna take the Braves. I will say, actually, I'm gonna go Braves in 4. I don't think Philly would take it to a 5-game series. Now moving on to the ALCS, we got the Orioles taking on the Yankees, an AL East matchup similar to the Phillies and Braves. These two teams will play each other a lot this season. We'll really get to see how they match up against each other. As of right now, I'm going to stick with my preseason pick, however. I'm going to take the Orioles to the World Series. Like I said, they just really haven't shown me any reason to switch this up. I think, last year I said they were too young. I said maybe wait a year or two. I think this year is the year that maybe they don't win the World Series, but I do think there is potential that they get there, and I'm going to take them. I took them preseason, and like I said, they've shown me no signs where I shouldn't trust them to get here, so I'm going to take the Orioles in, I will say, in 7. I think it goes all 7 games, but I like this Orioles team. Now looking at the NLCS, the Braves versus Dodgers, and I think this one would also go 7. The difference here is I think the Braves are just more consistent. I trust them more. The Dodgers tend to collapse come playoff time, and I just can't trust that. So I'm going to take the Braves. I know a lot of people took the Dodgers preseason to win it all. I was not one of those people. This was my preseason World Series prediction. I'm going to stick with the team that I picked to win it all. I'm going to take the Braves. I took the Braves all season last season. They ended up letting me down. But last season was kind of unpredictable. This season, as of right now, I'm staying with the Braves. I just trust them. They got an all-star lineup, but I mean, basically, they have the pitching. Like I said, they're one of the best defensive and offensive teams in the league. So I gotta trust the Braves. I'll say in 6. I think the Orioles would make this an interesting series, but I'm gonna take the Atlanta Braves. As of right now, they have one of the best records in the league. I gotta go with the Braves. So yeah, that's going to do it for episode 2 of MLB All Around. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go on there, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. As always, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload. We do college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, and MLB. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you go on there, subscribe. As always, Discord next, linked in the description. Join that, follow that. With all that being said, I think that's it. So yeah, I will see you guys next time.